These are the Flugelbauer Sanding Paddles by Flugelbauer Piano Supply. They come in a nice pouch, velcroed to hold them in place. There's 2 paddles inside, and if you'll notice, there's a small piece of cardboard to keep the paddle grits from rubbing against each other and wearing each other out. Inside you have 2 paddles, like I said. The first paddle is 1,800 grit, and this is very nice high-end sandpaper. It's the wet dry, nice stuff, very high quality sandpaper. On the other paddle is 150 and 300 grit, so a little bit more aggressive and probably not to be used too aggressively on some hammers, but it does a great job also. So the way that I use these in a normal piano, I would first, in a grand, I would first block the hammers up, and you can do this a number of ways. I use a longer board. Of course, this is just a demo model, but I would use a longer board that accommodates the back checks to prop the hammers up into place so that they're roughly in strike position. The strike position of a grand piano hammer is typically when the shank of the hammer is running parallel to the floor or level with the horizon. So in this position, it's very easy to see where the hammers are going to be when they're hitting the strings. This is the position those hammers will be in. And also note that it's important to burn and travel the hammers before you go and shape them this way. We want the hammers to be in the position they will be when they're striking the string before we start shaping them with the sanding paddle. So once they're in this position, they're burned, they're traveled, they're at the strike position, then you can go ahead and start shaping them with your paddle. Just to show on camera, I'll use a little bit more an aggressive 350 or so grit. So the first thing I would do with the action in front of me in this position is, and actually I take that back, I work with the action turned around, the keys facing away from me and the hammers towards me. And notice that these hammers are turned. They're a base hammer, and that the position of the hammer is turned at an angle. I'm not going to worry about that when I do this shaping job, because over the top of the hammer the position is flat. Of course, as you curl down the back side or front side of the hammer itself is turned to accommodate that position in the base section. So when I shape, I don't worry about that at first. I take care of it later, but what I do is I work from the front side of the hammers, pulling up, and I don't come too far up to the top, but rather I come right to the top as I'm trying to determine how much I want to take off. And you can see the felt that's coming off, and I'm really not pulling very hard at this point on these hammers at all. So you can see how aggressive this paper can get. Let me show you the same technique with, say, the 800 grit. So here's the 800, and I'm going to pull up and basically to the top, and I'm going to wait just right up to the top where the strike would be. And I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there begins to become a line across the top of the hammers where I've come to as I've filed. And again, with the 800 grit paper, there's and not pulling very aggressively at all, there's the felt that's come off of these hammers. So once I've decided, and here's another point, look at the shape of these hammers. They're okay, they're a little flat on top, but you can see a little bit of a knob up here on this corner, and maybe kind of a little too round over here. I might want to pare these out a little bit. The way to get rid of this knob on this side is just to start to get a little bit more aggressive. Pulling down, and now you can definitely see the line that I'm cutting on these hammers as I'm starting to pull felt, and look at, just with a little bit of aggressiveness, how much felt I'm able to get here. The reason that I do it this way, to back up a little bit, with blocking them up to the strike point, is that as I shape these hammers, they're all going to be uniform from tip to tip, from the tip of the molding to the crown or the strike point of the hammer, or the apex of the hammer. These hammers, from hammer to hammer, are going to be extremely uniform. They're going to be laser line level and in line with the bottom of the molding. Now, the other thing, very quickly, and you can see that I've already gotten rid of that lump, and if I'm not able to pull that that fold, that layer, that onion layer off the back side of the hammer, you can come up, you can come backwards a little bit just to clean up, just to clean that up. The other thing you can do to clean this up is to pull out your brass brush out of the kit, the voicing kit, and just clean those hammers back up. Now, this is by no means a perfect or complete job. I would spend much time making sure that the shape is correct, and then not only that, but using the higher 1000 grit to polish the tops of those. It's almost as if they are pressed with a hot iron or something after using the 1000 grit, which is just a smooth polish. The last thing I haven't talked about is where these base hammers are turned, where the angle on them is turned out, typical of a bass or a low tenor hammer. To accommodate the turn or that angle on these hammers, after I've come over the top of the hammer and shaped them, I will simply cut each hammer individually back against that inside corner that I haven't cut yet, to restore the shape. And you can pull that inside corner up and around until it matches the shape of the outside corner. And by doing that, you're simply restoring the original shape of the hammer. Some manufacturers don't believe it's necessary. Personally, I do it for aesthetic purposes, to keep them looking consistent, and just to clean them up. And I don't know if you can see the felt coming off of these hammers here, but afterwards you can do a couple of things. You can use another voicing block to polish the tops of the hammers. If you want to burnish them, you can use your voicing tool. You can use the back end of your brass brush just to get those nice and polished across the top. So there you go, the Flugelbauer Piano Supply Flugelbauer Sanding Paddles, and what a great deal.